All right, welcome back, crime fighters. Thank you for joining us here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted, the program where you get to help make Calhoun County a better place for all of us by helping us lock up some of those bad guys. And Sheriff, throughout 2019, they've done a great job.
They have. They've never let us down, and man, the partnership is what makes me so excited that the people call us and give us tips. Being able to help them with that is always wonderful. Brings our arrest up to 4 this week. 4,499 people put in jail because somebody was willing to help us out. It's truly a partnership. Thank you for what you do.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about the holidays. I know we're all getting ready to celebrate Christmas and New Year's, and especially with Christmas, we're going to be doing some things that might tempt some others to do what they shouldn't do.
Yeah, you know, we're in the season of porch pirates right now, where people are looking for packages on people's porches, stealing those, but also after Christmas, you know, you got the same people that will cruise around and see what kind of boxes you lay out on the curb or in your trash, and get the big 75-inch LED TV or something. You're just advertising. Try to cut those boxes up, get them in the garbage can. Don't advertise that you got whatever it is.
Put it in front of your neighbor's house.
Put it in front of your neighbor's house. There you go. That's a great idea, you know.
What about maybe your neighbor that's out of town for the holidays?
Maybe the neighbor just not.
Let's talk about that. If you're a lot of people will be out of town over the holidays.
A lot of people,
their house is going to be empty, and maybe even their neighbor's house is empty, and people are looking for that opportunity. You don't want them to know.
You don't want them
gone.
to know, you know, and be a good neighbor. You know, I had a neighbor. Somebody said, "You got a nosy neighbor." I said, "I love them." Mm-hmm. You know, they know when we're home or not. They know if somebody comes up they ain't supposed to, they're gonna come out and look, get a tag number. I love those people. Hey, that's called being neighborly.
Absolutely.
So I love those kind of people. A guy I'm living across the street from now, he comes over, I get out, he comes and talks to me. Not only is that a lost thing, but be neighborly. Mm-hmm. Look at those things. Don't put stuff out to advertise what you got. And I want everybody to have a Merry Christmas, and I want whatever they worked hard for to provide for their family to stay there.
Yeah, and if we're posting pictures on Facebook, we all love to post pictures Christmas morning.
Yeah.
If you're posting pictures from Idaho, you might want to put those private to where it's viewable only to your friends instead of public to where everybody in the world can see it.
You know, and sometimes in today's world, unfortunately, drug addiction has hit many people, many of our loved ones. So it's not always a stranger that would steal from you. So I hate to say that. You know, it's unfortunate, but drugs make people do things they shouldn't do. So, you know, just be careful what you post, what you put out, what information you give to people, not just for presents, but anywhere you go.
Yeah. All right. Just keep it in mind what you can do to not send signals that you've got something that they want or that your house is empty for them to come look around in. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have the first half of this week's lineup on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. All right, let's get down to business and take a look at who's in our lineup this week. We'll have the first half of the lineup now, and then the second half coming up in just a few minutes. This week we start with James Kennedy of Anniston. He is wanted on a probation violation for obstruction of justice using a false ID. Ernestine Jones of Hobson City is wanted on a failure to appear warrant for obstruction of justice using a false ID. Janita Johnson of Lithonia, Georgia is wanted on a probation violation for possession of a controlled substance, obstruction of justice using a false ID, and attempting to elude. Dunricus Stewart of Anniston is wanted on a failure to appear warrant for aggravated cruelty to animals. Kevin Jackson of Anniston wanted for failure to pay for possession or sale of Teflon ammunition. Wesley Nelson of Weaver is wanted on a failure to appear warrant for possession of marijuana, second degree. And Chedrick Jones of Anniston wanted for child support. We'll have the second half of the lineup coming up in just a few minutes. If you got some information you can share, please call Calhoun County Crime Stoppers at 256-238-1414. All right, we are back on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. We'll have the second half of the lineup for you here in just a little bit. But Sheriff, let's take a few minutes to talk about scams, if you don't mind.
Man, we talk about scams every day. Somebody's calling us, Facebooking us, telling us something that happened. And I don't know about y'all, but my telephone rings about every day from a number that's a scam.
Mm-hmm. It's constantly going, and I've got it to where my phone doesn't even ring if I don't recognize. If the phone doesn't recognize the number, it's not even going to ring. But when you're sheriff, maybe you can't do that.
I can't do that.
But Nancy Hilton is with us here, crime analyst for the sheriff's office, and You're the fun person that gets to deal with a lot of these scam victims.
Yes.
And we've got, unfortunately, a lot of victims, and I know it's heartbreaking for you because a lot of the people who are victimized are the people who can least afford to be victimized.
They are. It seems like every day I end up hearing something that I haven't heard before. It's the scammers are just a step ahead of everybody, it seems like, figuring out new and different ways to scam people out of their hard-earned money.
And we don't need to just watch out for ourselves and say, I'm not going to get fooled. We need to watch out for the people around us that might get fooled by some of these things. And they're getting trickier and trickier. And
They are.
The methods that they're using, sometimes we think we're safe because we recognize a few things, but that doesn't mean we recognize everything.
Right. If you answer the phone and you're not familiar with the phone number, and all of a sudden you get this recording and it tells you to call back, a lot of people will call that back, and just to find out, what it is, why are you calling, and if they can get you on the phone and start talking to you, they feel like they've got a way in. So I tell a lot of people, if you don't recognize the phone number, don't answer it.
And no matter what somebody tells you, don't believe it.
Right.
One of the big popular scams now is, we're revoking your Social Security number, call us back. That doesn't happen. Your Social Security number never gets revoked, but people will fall into that. And it's heartbreaking when you see somebody give them money and you tell them this is a scam, but they'll continue. We've had people give money after we've told them it was a scam.
And a lot of times they won't necessarily scam you on that one phone call, but maybe they get just a little piece of information that you think is insignificant. Maybe on another phone call or an email or something, they get another little piece of information that they're able to put together with what they saw on your social media, and they put together a bigger picture, and then they're able to do something off in the background that you have no idea about.
Identity theft actually happens that way too. They may catch you off guard and you give them your Social Security number. Well, person needs your name, Social Security number, and your birth date, and you're good to go to become that person almost. So don't give any information out over the telephone that would identify you personally. If you end up talking with somebody, if it happens, they're phishing a lot of times just to see what they can get. One of the phishing scams is they may call you late at night and they'll go, hey, guess who this is? You know who this is? And especially elderly, and they're trying to figure out, well, is this my grandson Bob? And they're, yeah, this is Bob. And because you're half asleep, you're not really recognizing that this may not be Bob. And from there, they'll give you this big long sob story, send money. I'm in jail down in Hungary. In fact, we had one. A lady was awakened late one night, and they scammed her, told her he had taken a vacation to Honduras, and she ended up sending $1,900 to help get him out of jail.
And that's probably everything she had.
And it was. She couldn't, she was not the type of person that could afford that, but she wanted to help her grandson out.
One of the things that I do, any communication that I get that I'm not 100% sure of, whether it's a text, an email, a phone call, whatever, if they want me to get back in contact with them in some form, I don't contact them the same way they contacted me. I'm going to look, okay, you're with Social Security. I'm going to look up the phone number for Social Security, and I'm going to call Social Security.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. If somebody calls you wanting information, don't give it out to them. If you feel like that you need to give them the information to identify yourself, then what you do, call them back at a number that you have found that applies to that business or organization.
Not something that they gave you. That could be somebody else pretending to be that. Even if it's an email address or a website that looks official, they've got ways of making that look like it, and they'll build. It's easy to build a website. I've built dozens of websites, never one fraudulently, but it's easy to do that.
And a lot of times there'll be a link in an email that you get that click here to change your password, click here to update your information. And actually it may be going to this scammer who's going to be pulling your name, your birth date, your date of birth, your address, everything out.
They do that with emails. I see a bunch of emails for Amazon, and I know it's not a transaction I did. You'll go change your password on Amazon, it's been deactivated.
Right.
You go click that and they've got your password then. So it's, unless you've asked for it, you know that it's supposed to be there, I would say just don't do it.
Right.
And if your password's been deactivated, go get on that account and see if it works or not. I bet it does.
Exactly.
Do it through a link that you know, not
Absolutely.
through a link that they sent you.
That's right.
Right.
All right, so we need to take a quick break, but there's a lot more that we need to talk about on this. So we will be back in just a second. We will have the second half of this week's lineup and more about scams that we don't want you or any of your loved ones to get caught with here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. All right, here we go with the second half of this week's lineup on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. Quinn Brown of Weaver, wanted on a probation violation for possession of a controlled substance. Levante Dye of Newell is wanted for failure to pay for theft of property, 3rd degree. Thomas Gross of Anniston wanted for failure to pay for possession of a controlled substance by fraud. Desmond Gant of Dothan wanted on a failure to appear warrant for use and possession of drug paraphernalia. Christine Stevens of Gadsden is wanted for child support. And George Knight of Talladega is wanting for negotiating with a non-negotiable instrument. That's passing bad checks, a failure to appear warrant for that. Do you have information about any of these individuals and where we can find them? If so, please contact Calhoun County Crime Stoppers at 256-238-1414. All right, we are back on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. We'll have our Crime Stoppers segment here in just a few minutes, talk about some property crimes, but right now we're trying to help prevent you from becoming a victim of a crime through a scam. Nancy Hilton is with us. We talk about some of the various scams that people are sending out there and some things that you can do to try to prevent becoming a victim. For some people, though, it happens.
It does.
If I think I may have been victimized, what's my next step?
Well, you probably need to file a report with your local agency. Pull together as much paperwork as you can to show proof of what has happened to you. It sort of helps us to follow through to find an end result. There's also FTC.gov is the Federal Trade Commission. It's a great website. It gives you all kind of information. One thing you also need to do if you've been a victim of identity theft is you need to check your credit report. And you can do that for free on FTC.gov. You can actually do that for free once a year now. At one time you had to pay for it, but they've changed the laws, so everybody gets that free. And go over that with a fine-tooth comb. If you
And make sure you go into the right site, because there's some sites out there trying to convince you that they're the official site.
Yes, go to ftc.gov. And if you see anything unusual on your credit report, if there's a strange address, a strange name, somewhere you're employed at you don't recall, you know, you need to go a little bit deeper. If there's accounts on there that you don't recognize, call them and find out what's going on. You may find out that you've got a credit card opened up and you know nothing about it. You never received any correspondence.
And sometimes it turns out to be nothing. It'll be a company that you don't recognize the name. Maybe you open an account at a retailer and they use this credit company. So
Right.
you didn't even recognize the name of that company. You just know that you bought your engagement ring from this jeweler. And so you can figure out, oh, everything is okay.
Right.
But you need to find out who
Absolutely.
it is.
Absolutely.
And you don't need to necessarily wait. If you look at your credit report and everything looks fine, that doesn't mean they haven't got your information and are getting ready to scam you. If you think somebody's gotten some information they shouldn't have, you need to be taking those steps.
Absolutely.
And if you do find out that you've had your identity stolen, you can freeze your information through one of the credit reporting agencies, and they will contact the other two also. And that way, in case somebody is using your personal information, if it comes up that they try to open an account, they're going to contact you and let you know, did you attempt to open this account? And try to verify who you are.
And then when you get ready to open a credit account later on, there will be some steps that you have to go
There
through
will
to
be.
unfreeze.
Right.
But boy, the trouble it can save you. If you're
Yes.
not planning on using your credit, freezing it can be a good step to protect yourself.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So again, if are there some good resources that people can look at to help educate themselves?
Well, the website ftc.gov
Which stands for the Federal Trade Commission.
stands for the Federal Trade Commission, and you can be put on their mailing list, and they will send you out notices of scams that are going around, what you can do to protect yourself from them, what you need to look for. I also have a great library. If anybody calls and would like more information, I can mail that out to them.
And if somebody says, I'm sending the sheriff out to pick you up if you don't pay this money in certain time, and I want you to go get a gift card to pay me with, or
Yeah, that's not going to happen. That doesn't happen. I was watching SpongeBob one morning. It's been several years ago when my kids were little. And the dispatch calls and says, hey, there's a guy here says he was supposed to meet you at the courthouse to give you money. I was like, no. Put him on. He says he knows you. I said, put him on the phone. I said, no, you scam, go home. But they'll do anything and say anything. So if you're not sure, just don't do it. And then call us. We'll help you. You know, we'll tell you if it's real or not. And 99% of the time, it's going to be a scam.
A good warning sign is if they ask for money through a gift card, iTunes cards, Amazon, wiring money through Western Union, MoneyGram. That right there is a sign of a scam, because a reputable business is not usually going to ask for payment like that.
if they're looking for payment through a way that can't be traced
Exactly.
and reversed, then you're almost guaranteed
It's a scam.
it's a
Yes.
scam. Don't do it.
Right.
And don't try to trick them into getting information from them. They're
playing
more
with
likely
fire.
to trick you than you
Yes.
are to trick them.
I tell a lot of people who do call, I just tell them, if you recognize immediately that this person's trying to scam you, hang up the phone. You don't even deserve to tell them goodbye. Just put that phone down.
We had somebody that tried to prank the scammer. The scammer actually pranked them back and fished their phone number to be a 911 call. And we actually went out to their house because somebody said that they were the neighbor and that people were breaking in that house. So we go out there and they're like, what's going on? And we tracked it back to the scammer. They had made the scammer mad, so the scammer was getting back at them.
Yeah.
Just leave them alone.
Don't give
hang
them
up
any
on 'em.
extra
Yeah.
reason to go after you. Just make it clear that you're not a good target. Thank you very much for all the help there, and hopefully 2020 will be a scam-free year in Calhoun
Yes,
County.
that would be great.
All right. We will be back in just a few moments. We'll have the Crime Stopper segment of the show, and we'll also have our Crazy Criminal of the Week on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. All right, let's take a look at some property crimes that hopefully you can help us solve. We've got a few of these that you may have seen on last week's show, but this one is new. Between December 7th and 9th, the business was burglarized on Highway 78 East in Anniston. Between November 21st and December 2nd, an outside shed was burglarized at a residence on Mount Gilead Road in Jacksonville. A Samsung dryer was stolen. On December 3rd, a person broke into a business located on Highway 431 in Alexandria. There was extensive damage to the front door, as you can see, especially there at the bottom. Between December 1st and December 4th, the residence on Prickett Trail was burglarized. There was damage to the rear door. A Nortec electric furnace, Frigidaire refrigerator, and a Nortec air conditioner pump were stolen. Between November 30th and December 1st, a blue 2005 Harley-Davidson Sportster was stolen from a residence on Morrisville Road in Anniston. And between November 27th and December 1st, a white 2000 Buick LeSabre was stolen from a location on Oak Grove Road in Gadsden. If you've got information about these crimes or any other crimes in the area, please contact Calhoun County Crime Stoppers at 256-238-1414. We want your information, not your name, and you could get a cash reward of up to $1,000.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
All right, Sheriff, this is a little bit unusual, not our typical crazy criminal, but we've got a case where, this is actually in Alabama, down in Foley, Alabama. Somebody shows up with a suitcase that they purchased at a thrift store. Or it may have been a worker. Anyway, somebody at the thrift store got a suitcase with over $11,000 worth of traveler's checks inside of it.
Oh,
And it turns out, you can guess traveler's checks, it's not new, right?
no.
Not a lot of people using those these days, but somebody well over a decade ago, about 20 years ago, I think, had a burglary, and their luggage was stolen, including over $11,000 in traveler's checks. And whoever stole that luggage eventually finally sent the luggage into the thrift store without ever opening this suitcase with over $11,000 in traveler's checks inside of it.
Wow. You know, and temptation would get you and go, hey, I got $11,000, but you can't do that.
No, traveler's check's pretty tough to steal. The good news is they don't expire, so this victim, all this time later,
Got
Get
his
your
money
money
back.
back. Yeah.
That's awesome. That is a great story.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
All right, so that's all the time that we've got for this week. We will be looking for you again really in the new year. We're going to take a little bit of a break, but we'll have some programming for you here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
Merry Christmas.